Coming live from the Tivoli Met Radio studio here on the Auraria campus, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for listening to All Sports through Met Radio on mymetmedia.com, live every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. This is your host Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I'm going to talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, NHL hockey, college football, college basketball, and golf. So before I start the show, I hope you all had a great week and a great Thanksgiving. To start off, check out episode 15 of All Sports with Gerardo on youtube.com. Even though campus was closed and I couldn't go live and do a show from the Tivoli Met Radio studio here on Auraria campus, I still did a show last Thursday on Thanksgiving from the studio. Check out episode 14 of All Sports with Gerardo on youtube.com. I interviewed Roman O'Shea, the assistant director at Met Media. During the interview, I asked Roman a series of questions in regards to living and being from Chicago, rooting for his hometown teams in Chicago, his college and career background in broadcasting and in teaching, and questions about the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA. Moving on now, Phil Mickelson won the Capital One's the match for $9 million after defeating Tiger Woods 1-up in 22 holes in overtime. Tiger Woods missed a birdie putt from 8 feet out on the 4th overtime hole, and Phil Mickelson made his 4 from 4 feet away to clinch the victory. The Capital One's the match was a winner-takes-all match play event, which was held at the Shadow Creek Golf Course in Las Vegas. Moving on now to Major League Baseball, the Braves have signed free agent third baseman Josh Donaldson to a 1-year contract. The Braves have agreed to a contract with catcher Brian McCain. Brian McCain is returning to the Braves where it all began, and he wants to retire as a Brave. Brian McCain played with the Braves from 2005 to 2013. He is a 7-time All-Star and a 5-time Silver Slugger. The Twins have claimed first baseman C.J. Cron from the Rays. The Oakland Athletics have unrevealed plans to build a new stadium that will open in 2023. The team announced on Wednesday its plans to build a new ballpark at Howard Terminal in Oakland. Construction for the new ballpark will start in late 2020, and it will open for the 2023 season. The ballpark will contain 34,000 seats and be located near Jack London Square on the waterfront. I think the urban downtown location right on the waterfront is really a game changer for the A's and for Oakland. Team president Dave Canville said, "It's just a tremendous site. Having the connection to the water, the connection to Jack London Square, it's a tremendous location for a ballpark." The Athletics have played in the Oakland Alameda Coliseum since 1968. The new 34,000-seat ballpark will be smaller as the Athletics look to improve their attendance totals and establish themselves as regular contenders in the AL West. The area where the Oracle Arena in the Oakland Alameda Coliseum will be redeveloped since the Warriors are leaving from the Oracle Arena to their new arena in San Francisco next year, and the original ballpark diamond from the Coliseum will be preserved. For the last few years, there has been talks about building a new stadium for the Athletics, but there had been roadblocks in the past to stop these plans, but the Athletics are finally getting a new stadium. So it's about time that the Athletics get a new stadium. They've been in the Coliseum in Oakland. If you've been to the Coliseum, it's an older stadium, and you can tell that the Athletics do need their own stadium because they share it with the Raiders. And since the Raiders are not getting a new stadium in Oakland, that's why they're relocating to Las Vegas. So baseball decided before they expand to having more teams, they first want to get a new stadium for the Tampa Bay Rays and for the Oakland Athletics. if they both didn't get a new stadium in the next few years, then both teams would probably relocate to a different city, which might have happened to the Athletics just like the Raiders. But now that the Athletics are getting a new stadium, that's one less to worry about. There's rumors, but it's not 100% sure yet, that the Rays are going to be getting a new stadium as well. So once those two things happen, then big cities that don't have a baseball stadium or a baseball team, then baseball will be willing to expand to having a few more teams in the league. So I'm happy that the Athletics are getting a new stadium. They really need it bad. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the rest of the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NFL football. If the Broncos wanted to keep their playoff hopes alive going into December, the Steelers-Broncos game was a must-win game. With the Steelers being on a 6-game winning streak, the Steelers were favored to win this game, but the Broncos were able to beat the red-hot Steelers at home 24-17. For the Broncos, Case Keenum had 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. Phillip Lindsay had 110 yards on 14 carries for 1 touchdown. Emmanuel Sanders had 86 yards on 7 catches for 1 touchdown. Matt LaCouse had 1 touchdown. Chris Harris had 1 interception. Shaquille Barrett had 1 sack, and Shelby Harris had the play of the game to seal the victory when he intercepted Ben Roethlisberger in the end zone with under 2 minutes remaining in a close game where the Steelers were looking to tie the game and go into overtime. For the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger had 462 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Chris Boswell had the touchdown pass in the end zone to Alejandro Villanova before halftime to tie the game at 10. Juju Smith-Schuster had 189 yards on 13 catches and a long pass from Ben Roethlisberger to get a touchdown, and Antonio Brown had 67 yards on 9 catches. So overall, the Broncos-Steelers game, it was a great game. The Broncos were able to pull off this game at the very end. It really didn't have to come down that way. The only 2 plays that really killed the Broncos in this game was the touchdown that happened before halftime. It was actually that the Steelers were going to go for a field goal, but they landed up faking the pass, and they were able to get a touchdown there. And then in the third quarter, Ben Roethlisberger had that long touchdown pass, and he ran all the way to the end zone. So that was really the only 2 plays that killed the Broncos. It caught them on surprise. But other than that, the Broncos played pretty decent on offense and not too bad on defense except for those 2 plays. What was good for the Broncos is they're able to come off the bye week, go to Los Angeles, and beat the Chargers, which were on a 6-game winning streak. And then they were able to come back to Denver and play here at Mile High Stadium. And the Steelers came into town on a 6-game winning streak, and they also beat the Steelers as well. Every game that the Broncos have lost so far is kind of like a must-win game. Every game going forward for them is a must-win game if they want to keep the season alive. But this Steelers game was really a must-win game, because that was going to keep their playoff hopes alive. Even though they still have a 13% chance of making it into the playoffs, now they have a greater chance since they beat the Steelers. Broncos tight end Jeff Hireman broke 3 ribs and suffered a bruised lung against the Steelers. He will miss the rest of the season, and he will be placed on injured reserve, head coach Vance Joseph announced. Broncos outside linebacker Shaquille Barrett will also miss time after suffering an injury to his hip flexor. Vance Joseph said he will be week to week. Last Tuesday, the Broncos released Adam Pac-Man Jones Adam Jones appeared in 7 games with the Broncos after he was signed to the team in late August. He started 2 games, he had 1 interception, 9 tackles, and he mainly served as the kick returner. Pro Football Hall of Famer Mike Ditka is recovering from a heart attack in a Florida hospital. Coach Ditka had a mild heart attack last week. Doctors inserted a pacemaker, and he is doing much better. Ditka's longtime agent Steve Manuel said he appreciates the outpouring support and expects to be home soon. Mike Ditka is 79. He enjoyed a 12-year playing career as a tight end with the Bears, Eagles, and Cowboys when he was a 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, and a Super Bowl champion. He later took over as head coach of the Bears in 1982 and went 106-62 during 11 seasons with the Bears. The highlight of his time in the Windy City came in 1985 when he led the Bears to a 15-1 record and a Super Bowl 20 win over the Patriots. Last Friday, the Texans announced their owner, founder, senior chairman, and chief executive officer Robert C. McClure passed away peacefully in Houston with his family at the age of 81. Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton is out for the rest of the season after suffering a thumb injury in the 3rd quarter of the Bengals-Browns game. The Bengals put Andy Dalton on injured reserve. Jeff Diswell will be the starting quarterback for the Bengals, and they acquired Tom Savage from the 49ers via waivers to be the backup quarterback. Andy Dalton tore ligaments in his thumb and he may need surgery. The Jaguars have bench quarterback Blake Bortles and Cody Kessler will start against the Colts. The Jaguars also fired offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Currently, the Jaguars are 3-8, so the Jaguars are out of playoff conversations, but this offseason the Jaguars may move on from Blake Bortles and pursue a franchise quarterback in free agency or the draft. After signing Blake Bortles to a 3-year extension last offseason, it looks like he isn't the franchise quarterback for the Jaguars. Jaguars running back Leonard Fournette is suspended by the NFL for 1 game for violations of unsportsmanlike conduct and unnecessary roughness. Leonard Fournette and Bills linebacker Shaq Larson were both ejected from the Jaguars-Bills game after participating in a fight late in the 3rd quarter. The fight occurred after Jaguars wide receiver Dante Michir came down with a contested catch near Buffalo's goal line. Both teams traded shoves as Dante Fournette and Bills cornerback Levi Wallace fought for possession. Leonard Fournette and Shaq Larson went after each other during the fight, and after being ejected, they both had to be restrained from each other in the tunnel as they were walking back to the locker rooms, since they both had to go through the same tunnel from the field. Colts tight end Jack Doyle injured his kidney in the win against the Dolphins, and he is out for the rest of the season. The Colts put Jack Doyle on injured reserve. Lions wide receiver Marvin Jones is out for the rest of the season with a knee injury. The Lions put Marvin Jones on injured reserve. Chargers running back Melvin Gordon is week to week with an MCL strain, and he will be out for a few weeks. So far, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson has looked great for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson was the last pick in the 1st round of the NFL draft this year, and he currently has 415 yards and 2 touchdowns. Going into the future, Lamar Jackson could replace Joe Flacco and be the Ravens franchise quarterback. In the Week 13 NFL Power Rankings, the current top 10 NFL teams are the Saints, Rams, Chiefs, Patriots, Chargers, Bears, Steelers, Texans, Vikings, and Seahawks. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the rest of the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now. Right now I'm going to tell you the final scores from the 12th week of regular season football, and then I'm going to tell you the highlights from this week of football in the current division standings and playoff picture in the AFC and the NFC. So to start off, on Thanksgiving we had 3 games. The Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions, the Washington Redskins versus the Dallas Cowboys, and the Atlanta Falcons versus the New Orleans Saints. So to start off, Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions. The final score, the Bears won 23-16. The Washington Redskins versus the Dallas Cowboys. The final score, the Cowboys win 31-23. The Atlanta Falcons versus the New Orleans Saints. The final score, the Saints win 31-17. On Sunday, the Cleveland Browns versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The final score, the Browns win 35-20. The San Francisco 49ers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The final score, the Buccaneers win 27-9. The Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Buffalo Bills. The final score, the Bills win 24-21. The Oakland Raiders versus the Baltimore Ravens. The final score, the Ravens win 34-17. The Seattle Seahawks versus the Carolina Panthers. The final score, the Seahawks win 30-27. The New England Patriots versus the New York Jets. The final score, the Patriots win 27-13. The New York Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The final score, the Eagles win 25-22. The Arizona Cardinals versus the Los Angeles Chargers. The final score, the Chargers win 45-10. The Miami Dolphins versus the Indianapolis Colts. The final score, the Colts win 27-24. The Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Denver Broncos. The final score, the Broncos win 24-17. The Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings. The final score, the Vikings win 24-17. And the Tennessee Titans versus the Houston Texans. The final score, the Texans win 34-17. So that's all the final scores from the 12th week of regular season football. The highlights from this week of football: the Texans are playing great football right now. They've been on a winning streak, and they look like they're going to be a great team for the rest of the season and potentially going into the playoffs. The Vikings beat the Packers at home, and right now it's not looking good for the Packers. They haven't been able to win on the road this season, and Aaron Rodgers said, in order for us to make it to the playoffs, since their chances of making it into the playoffs are very slim, we're basically going to have to win out and win every game that we play for the rest of the season. It's good to say, finally, that the Broncos are winning games once again. They were able to pull off this win against the Steelers at the end of the game. Shelby Harris made the big play in the end zone to intercept Ben Roethlisberger. Otherwise, this game would have likely been tied and went into overtime. So the Broncos were able to knock off 2 really good teams in the NFL that are ranked in the top 10. The Chargers and the Steelers were on a 6-game winning streak. So congrats to the Broncos. And looking at the rest of their schedule, it's pretty easy. It's not as hard. So they should be able to win some of the next few games. They should especially win these next 2 games at Cincinnati against the Bengals and at San Francisco against the 49ers. The Colts were able to beat the Dolphins at the end of the game. After the Chargers lost to the Broncos by 1 point in a close game, this week they were able to bounce back and blow out the Cardinals. The Eagles were able to hold on and beat the Giants by 3 points at the end of the game. The Patriots were able to go on the road and beat their division rival Jets in New York. The Seahawks were able to beat the Panthers at the end of the game. The Ravens played really good at home. The Raiders look like they're not going to be able to win another game anytime soon. They got lucky. They beat the Cardinals. Lamar Jackson, the quarterback for the Ravens, has looked great so far. The Bills were able to beat the Jaguars at the end of the game. The Jaguars lost Leonard Fournette due to a fight. The Buccaneers were able to beat the 49ers. The Browns were able to go on the road and beat the Bengals in the Ohio Bowl. And on Thanksgiving, the Saints were able to win at home against their division rival Falcons. The Cowboys were able to win at home against their division rival, the Redskins. The Redskins still played pretty good football without quarterback Alex Smith. And the Bears were able to go on the road and beat the Lions in another division rival. So that's all the highlights from this week of football. So looking at the current playoff picture in the AFC and the NFC, right now the Chiefs are leading the AFC West. They're 9-2 and they're the first seed. The Patriots are leading the AFC East. They're 8-3 and they're the second seed. Right now the Texans are leading the AFC South. They're 8-3 and they're the third seed. Right now the Steelers are leading the AFC North. They're 7-3 and they're the fourth seed. In the first wild card spot as the fifth seed is the 8-3 Chargers, and in the second wild card spot as the sixth seed, right now the 6-5 Ravens. In the hunt in the AFC, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Bengals, the Broncos, and the Titans. The Colts, Dolphins, Bengals, Broncos, and Titans still have a chance of trying to make it into the playoffs, but it would likely be as one of the two wild card spots. In the NFC right now, the Saints are leading the NFC South. They're 10-1 and they're the first seed. Right now in the NFC West, the Rams are 10-1 and they're the second seed. Right now in the NFC North, the Bears are 8-3 and they're the third seed. Right now in the NFC East, the Cowboys are 6-5 and they're the fourth seed. Right now in the first wild card spot as the fifth seed, the Vikings are 6-4. Right now in the second wild card spot as the sixth seed is the Redskins at 6-5. In the hunt in the NFC, the Seahawks, Panthers, and the Eagles. The Seahawks, Panthers, and Eagles are really the only three teams that could potentially catch up and only become one of the two wildcard spots. So that's the current playoff picture for the AFC and the NFC. The Chiefs are leading the AFC West. The Patriots are leading the AFC East. The Texans are leading the AFC South. And the Steelers are leading the AFC North. The Saints are leading the NFC South. The Rams are leading the NFC West. The Bears are leading the NFC North. And the Cowboys are leading the NFC East. There's still 1 month of football left to be played. A lot of these seeds or teams that are leading their division could possibly change. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. In the AFC and the NFC, both the number 1 and 2 seed are tight races. So it's really going to come down to who wins games, and whoever loses games, they're going to be able to move seeds or move up to lead their division. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens here. Moving on now, right now I'm going to tell you all the matchups and what teams go up against each other in the 13th week of regular season football. So tonight on Thursday Night Football, we got the New Orleans Saints against the Dallas Cowboys. On Sunday, we got the Baltimore Ravens against the Atlanta Falcons. The Carolina Panthers against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. the Chicago Bears against the New York Giants, the Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins, the Indianapolis Colts against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cleveland Browns against the Houston Texans, the Denver Broncos against the Cincinnati Bengals, the Los Angeles Rams against the Detroit Lions, the Arizona Cardinals against the Green Bay Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs against the Oakland Raiders, the New York Jets against the Tennessee Titans, the San Francisco 49ers against the Seattle Seahawks, the Minnesota Vikings against the New England Patriots. On Sunday Night Football, we got the Los Angeles Chargers against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And on Monday Night Football, we got the Washington Redskins against the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's all the matchups in the 13th week of regular season football. What to watch for this week of regular season football? Can the Eagles win at home against the Redskins in a divisional matchup? The Chargers-Steelers game is going to be a great game. Both teams are hot right now. Can the Patriots win at home against the Vikings? The Seahawks play good in Seattle, so they should beat the 49ers. Can the Chiefs go on the road and beat the Raiders at home? That's always a good divisional matchup in the AFC West between the Chiefs and the Raiders. Patrick Mahomes is hot right now. He's looking great and he's playing great football. Can the Packers win at home against the Cardinals? This is a must-win game for them, and this should be a game that they win. Can the Rams go on the road and beat the Lions? Can the Denver Broncos go on the road and beat the Bengals without losing this game, and with the Bengals being without quarterback Andy Dalton? Are the Browns going to be able to go on the road and beat the Texans? Texans are playing great football right now. Can they win at home against the Browns? Can the Jaguars win at home against the Colts? The Jaguars bench quarterback Blake Bortles, and they will be starting their backup quarterback. They fired their offensive coordinator this week as well, so maybe this is the turnaround for them. Can the Bears go on the road and beat the Giants? Can the Ravens go on the road and beat the Falcons? And can the Saints go on the road and beat the Cowboys? The Saints play really good at home in New Orleans all the time. They struggle a little bit on the road at times, but they're playing great football this year. The other thing too is, how is the Redskins going to play without quarterback Alex Smith? We're going to have to wait and see how Colt McCoy or Mark Sanchez, if he gets the opportunity to step up, how the Redskins can win a few more games for the rest of the season. So that's what's to watch for in this week of regular season football. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NBA and NHL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NBA basketball. Last Friday, Stephen Curry was involved in a multi-car collision on Highway 24 near Oakland, and he wasn't injured in the accident. According to a California Highway Patrol spokesperson, Curry's Porsche suffered damage after being struck twice during the crash, which was said to have likely been influenced by the weather. A silver Lexus lost control and crossed into Curry's lane and hit his car. Curry's vehicle was hit a second time when a black Honda Civic lost control and veered into the median where Curry had parked while waiting for assistance. Curry was also involved in a car crash near Charlotte, North Carolina in October 2011, but he wasn't injured in that crash either. And this Saturday against the Detroit Pistons, Steph Curry is expected to be back on the court after missing time due to his injury. According to reports, DeMarcus Cousins is aiming to return from his injury after Christmas. DeMarcus Cousins is still recovering from his torn Achilles injury he suffered in January against the Rockets when he was on the Pelicans. On Tuesday, after the Nuggets blew out the Lakers 117-85 at the Pepsi Center, Nuggets head coach Michael Malone wants visiting fans to know what to expect in Denver. The Warrior fans can come in here, Celtic fans can come in here, Lakers fans can come in here, but take that L on the way out. The Cavaliers have traded Kyle Kluber to the Jazz for Alec Burks and 2 second-round picks. On Wednesday, Vince Carter moved into 7th in all-time games played. In the Week 7 NBA Power Rankings, the current top 10 NBA basketball teams are the Raptors, Bucks, Warriors, Clippers, Thunder, Grizzlies, Nuggets, 76ers, Trailblazers, and Lakers. Moving on now to NHL hockey. Right now I'm going to give you the current standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. In the NHL, the division standings go off the amount of goals the team scored, not by the wins or losses by the team. So to start off in the Eastern Conference, in the Metropolitan Division, right now Washington's leading this division at 31 points. And Columbus is behind them at 30 points. And the New York Rangers are at 28 points. In the Atlantic Division, right now Buffalo is leading this division at 36 points. Toronto's right behind them at 36 points. And Tampa Bay's right behind them at 35 points. And keep an eye on Buffalo because they're playing great hockey right now and they're very hot right now. So definitely watch out for Buffalo. In the Western Conference, in the Central Division, Nashville's leading this division at 35 points. Colorado's right behind them at 34 points. And in the Pacific Division, Calgary's leading this division at 30 points. San Jose and Anaheim are at 29 points. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about college football, college basketball, and the end of the show. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to college football. Last Saturday, CU lost to California 33-21. Currently in the college football top 25, the top 10 college teams are Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Georgia, Oklahoma, Ohio State, UCF, Michigan, Texas, and Washington. Currently, the top 4 college teams are number 1 Alabama, number 2 Clemson, number 3 Notre Dame, and number 4 Georgia. Last Saturday, number 22 Texas A&M upset number 7 LSU in 7 overtimes, 74-72. In the Texas A&M LSU game, there were 7 overtimes, 146 points, 1,017 yards, 2 turnovers, and 17 touchdowns. This is the highest scoring game in FBS history. In the Week 14 match, we got number 17 Utah against number 11 Washington in the Pac-12 championship game. Number 14 Texas against number 5 Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. Number 1 Alabama against number 4 Georgia in the SEC championship game. Number 21 Northwestern against number 6 Ohio State in the Big 10 championship game. Memphis against number 8 UCF in the AAC championship game. Number 25 Fresno State against number 22 Boise State in the Mountain West championship game. And number 2 Clemson against Pittsburgh in the ACC championship game. So all these matchups are going to be great games. These games will determine who's going to be the champion in their conference. Definitely watch all these games if you have the opportunity, but the 2 games you definitely want to keep an eye on is the Texas against Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. This is going to be a very good game, but the one game you definitely need to watch if you have the opportunity is Alabama against Georgia in the SEC championship game. This is going to be the best game so far in the college football season. Right now, Georgia looks like they're the only team that has a very good chance at being able to beat Alabama. Alabama's number one right now, but we're just going to have to wait and see what happens in this game. But Georgia is definitely a threat at beating Alabama. They're playing good football, especially on the offensive side, so watch out for Georgia in this game. And on Sunday, the college football playoff top 25 rankings and the top 4 college football teams will be revealed. So depending on what happens in these championship games in every conference, that's going to determine who's ranked in the top 25 and which teams are ranked as the top 4 college football teams in the entire country. So it can remain the same or it can change. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens on Saturday. Moving on now to college basketball. In the men's college basketball AP Top 10 poll, the current top 10 college basketball teams are Gonzaga, Kansas, Duke, Virginia, Nevada, Tennessee, Michigan, Auburn, Michigan State, and Kentucky. There's still a lot of college basketball to be played, so these top 10 college basketball teams can change at any time, and these teams can move up or down as well in the rankings. Moving on now to end the show, what to watch for this week in sports. The Broncos' next game is this Sunday at the Bengals. If the Broncos don't make the Bengals that hard, they should be able to win this game and also win the next game at San Francisco against the 49ers. This will keep their playoff hopes alive. The 13-week regular season football, definitely keep an eye on the Denver Nuggets. They're playing great basketball. They blew out the Lakers. They've been winning a lot of games lately as well. They're in the top 4 in the Western Conference, so definitely watch the Nuggets when you have an opportunity. They're playing great basketball right now. If you get the opportunity, watch the college football championship games in every conference. They're all going to be great games, but you definitely need to keep an eye on that Texas-Oklahoma game in the Big 12, and that Alabama-Georgia game in the SEC. On Sunday, the college football playoff top 25 rankings will be revealed. Definitely watch college basketball. Moving on now, on the next show, I will talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, NHL hockey, and college football. I hope you all have a great weekend. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports through Met Radio here on mymetmedia.com. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.